Actors are everywhere. No, it's true. There are actors in literally every nation and from every culture ever developed by mankind. And where there are actors, there is usually an organization, guild, membership group, or trade union out there to protect the rights and welfare of its members. In fact, there are approximately 80 such organizations around the globe. Acting is a noble profession, but a difficult one in which to earn a living. And often, we are taken advantage of by those who would seek to profit off the back of our talent, without fair compensation or adequate protections to our health and well-being. I mean, really, is it too much to ask? Is it? This is where having, advocating for, and belonging to a strong union can improve our working conditions and serve to benefit all of us actors collectively. So consider getting involved in your local actors union if you haven't already. Lynda Rooke is not only the president of Actors Equity UK, but is a seasoned actor with a rich and varied career in UK theatre, television, and film in her own right. She has garnered respect and admiration both on and off the stage from her extensive body of work. Elected as president in 2022, Lynda has been instrumental in leading Actors Equity UK through significant challenges, including navigating the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, remember that, and Equity's solidarity with U.S. actors during the recent SAG-AFTRA strikes. And having just come back from this year's Equity Conference in Birmingham, Lynda and myself are hot on all the topics of improving working conditions, advocating for fair pay, and promoting diversity and inclusion within the industry, and more. In this, our 20th episode. Can you believe 20 already? Jay and I engage with Lynda on all things acting and acting unions. So let's hear it for good work for all artists, good art for all workers, and equity for all people. Jay, you ready?
I'm ready, boy.
I love it when you're ready.
Thank you.
For the Offstage Acting Podcast.
Woohoo!
Here we go. Bringing you yet another episode. Going strong. This is our 20th episode.
Wait, what?
20. Yeah,
20?
very proud of that. 20, that's correct.
Oh my.
So we want to thank everybody for joining us on the Offstage Acting Podcast. Welcome. Welcome aboard.
Is it? It's actually our 20th episode.
This is our 20th. I know. It's wild. And we do one every week. So how many weeks is that?
Don't make me do math.
Come on. 20 episodes,
20
one per week. You can do it.
Over the,
all right, never mind.
Quantum. 20 weeks.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 20 weeks.
Yeah. I know. It's just been flying by. You know why? Because we've been having so much fun.
We do have so much fun.
We do have a ton of fun. Speaking of fun, did you hear I just released a brand new Offstage Acting podcast trailer, which I shared with you?
Yes, you did.
What'd you think of it?
It was stellar, Hot Toddy.
Stellar.
Oh my. No,
I'll take that.
But seriously, you guys, Todd is so good at like making content things. No, like a year ago, we worked with someone and he was doing like a commercial for a friend of his for I don't know why. And then he showed it to me and I was like, what the heck, Todd? This is so good. You're so good at like making things.
Making things. I'm good at
Like-
making
Art things, video things, whatever. Words.
Yeah. I'm a creative talent.
You're creative.
I do like to have fun. I have fun. It took me 4.5 days to make a 2-minute clip. But yeah, hey, otherwise, it's fine.
We have fun. It took me 4.5 days.
That's right. Because I made the clip because as we were discussing earlier, and just briefly, I'm a busy boy. Ask me what I'm doing the next 2 days, Jay. Ask me as if you don't know, as if you already don't know.
Wait, so
what am I doing tomorrow and Thursday is what you want to ask.
What are you doing tomorrow and Thursday?
Thank you for asking.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to the podcast show here in London, which is,
Wow, like a convention.
Yeah, you don't care. You could care.
I do care. I care for you, okay? And for us, to be honest.
It's for us. Yeah, it's for us. I have no idea what to expect. I have a friend, Elsie Escobar, she's in the podcasting Hall of Fame, and you
Yeah,
know her.
I remember
You
her.
remember
I've
her, and
listened to her stuff.
she helped us tremendously set up the podcast and stuff. And she told me essentially, she's like, oh, I want to come to London. There's the biggest podcasting convention in the world happens in London every
Tomorrow.
year, and it's tomorrow. And I signed up.
Can
And
I
I,
wait? Real question. I
uh-huh.
waited for this moment to ask
Oh,
you.
here we go.
Okay, is it like how would you if you gave me the address, would you sneak me in?
Like kick open a back door.
Yeah, well, I think first off, the first objective is that you would have to somehow take someone else's credentials,
Yeah,
and
that would have
then
to happen.
but I mean, you could do it. I think you
I could, you
could.
know what I could do is I could like give you my credentials and go take a nap and let you walk around for like an hour and check out the scene. You could
Well, I
do
would have
that for
wanted to do it
sure.
with I would have wanted to do it with you. I would have wanted to like meet Elsie.
I I
Really,
I, I sort of offered it, but guess what? I have a platinum pass, which is pricey because I just went for it. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go like
half
bronze or whatever it is. Yeah, half
good.
ass. So I got the platinum, which gives me all the rights because I didn't want somebody to go, hey, we're going to the big party. Why don't we go to the VIP area and have a chat about this important thing? I want to sponsor your podcast. And I go,
Oh, are you only silver?
yeah. Oh, that's too
Oh,
bad. Well, maybe next year,
yeah.
No. So I said, I'll get
Well done.
platinum. Yeah,
Well
thank
done.
you. Yeah.
Can
So,
I also ask you another question?
oh,
Wait, but okay, but I have so many questions because you've. Okay, fine. I won't.
let's limit our questions to
Fine,
can we take our
fine.
questions at the end of the show?
Yeah.
All
I'll
right. Well,
just.
no, one more. I'll give you one more. Pick your favorite.
Um. No, I don't. I've also because you've been very busy. I saw on
Yeah.
Instagram the other day that you went to this
Oh, is this
thing this
okay?
last weekend.
Well, you want to get into that? Well, then, yeah. So we're off the podcast show topic anyway. That's tomorrow. Now, yes, absolutely. I just got back yesterday from Birmingham.
Birmingham.
Birmingham, which is actually, did you know there's a Birmingham in the UK? It's like the
Uh-huh.
original one, not the
I
one in
didn't know there's another
Alabama.
one.
Not the one in Alabama, everybody. You think when you say Birmingham, you think, oh, what's he doing
There's a
down there?
You just
Um,
know random towns in Alabama, in the States?
Birmingham, Alabama. It's not random. It's like the capital of Alabama. Anyway,
Is it really? Great.
yeah. I
No,
thought,
okay.
weren't you educated? Well, you were educated in America. That's why you don't know where
Yeah,
Birmingham is.
I
Okay.
geography
Anyway,
doesn't matter.
Birmingham. I was in Birmingham for 2 nights, 3 days for the Equity Conference. Equity is
Oh,
our
like
actors union here in the UK,
wow,
which,
you're a
yeah,
conferenceman.
right.
You
Yeah, this has been the month of the convention.
wow.
Yeah, big time, big time. But it was
And aren't you
hmm?
like a leader?
Yeah,
Like a like the president?
I'm like the leader. Yeah, I'm a big wheel over there at Equity. Um, no, but it was my first time. I was really new. I'm what's called a committee member of my branch,
Okay.
Oxford and Home Counties branch. So it's pretty. I mean, the only thing lower on that totem pole is just member, but I
Uh,
do represent local things, and I'm brand new. I'm a baby. I'm fresh.
hmm.
But the idea is here in my area, and it's a few branches together from different counties, but that we support local artists here and try to build up membership and events that are localized outside of London, and then some of the bigger areas have more, obviously, like
Mm.
Manchester and Wales or Scotland. They're better represented, but um, uh, we're working hard. And
So
yeah,
what did you like? You were there for 2 days, 3 nights?
3 nights. Yeah, it's a whole thing. You go and
Wow.
there's motions. It's a yearly thing. There's
So there's
motions,
voting, you mean? Motions like to
voting.
vote?
Yeah, you voting. So a lot of great motions
Mm.
were set, and you and I have talked about it in the past. Remember that
Yeah,
tax on hope thing I talked
I
about with
do.
Spotlight and stuff? That was a big issue, and there was a little fringe event where we talked in depth about that, and there was a big motion, and it got voted in, and there'll be a lot of changes coming.
Wow.
So stay tuned there. Yeah, and we will be reporting on those changes here at Offstage Acting. Uh, so, but overall, yeah, really, really interesting and empowering event, and the whole thing was a bit of a circus for me. because Birmingham is a wild sort of place.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I've
a
heard the
lot of
rumors.
yeah, they were partying on the street. It was like Mardi Gras. I mean, a place is a party place if you can. There's multiple kiosks selling pink cowboy hats, and they're making a decent living, like
More than one.
more than one. Pink cowboy hats and
Why
glitter.
would you need more than one?
I
Wow,
don't
that
know. And
is
it was like
nuts.
every block you could buy, and they're just pink cowboy hats.
What?
So yeah, it was
Okay.
hen parties and I don't know, stag do's,
Oh,
but it
yeah, of
was. I
course.
mean, if they're if they're making a good enough living selling it at one kiosk, let's open a second one just down the block.
There you go.
Just
And
pink
for
cowboy hats.
our US people, a hen party, hen
Yes,
do and a stag do is a bridesmaid part. Wait, no, not the wife party, the before wife party, and the before
bachelorette,
husband
bachelor
party.
party, and bachelorette party. Yeah, so
Yes.
bachelorette party is a hen do. We call that here in the UK. But anyway, so there was all that going on, but at the same time, and it's a lot of culture and a lot of history, obviously in Birmingham, everything. But and then at the same time, there's this giant equity event going on, which was also different and new for me. And I'm meeting all kinds of new people and things. So
I bet. I bet you
it
met
was
a
a
ton of
whirlwind.
people.
I met a ton of people. In fact, guess who I met? Speaking of presidents of equity,
What?
take a guess.
I mean, there's no way you got like the president of Actors
Listen, I want to
Equity
explain
on the.
something to you about Todd Kramer.
No way.
When I shoot,
No. I'm
I
sorry. I
shoot big.
cannot believe you.
I don't just. I did. So I went with the idea. I have a friend there. She's been in equity for years, Laurence. You know her probably too. She's a voiceover artist as well. But the idea, I thought, well, I'll go to the event and definitely want to bring in somebody for the podcast that we can talk about, the
Smart.
weekend and what went on and all this stuff. And yeah, at some point, I think the first night, president comes over and we're just chatting, and we had some people around. It was fun, and she was great. And so I just went, "What are you doing Tuesday?" She must have been like, she was really on the spot. She goes, I think I'm free. I was like, great.
Oh my gosh.
You're doing my podcast. I got a podcast. You're doing my podcast. So she was cool. She was into it. She's Irish, basically kind of northerner and / Irish. So, they're cool.
Do I refer to her
Yeah,
as Milady?
Milady, yeah, or El Presidente.
No,
something like that.
Be La Presidente or La Reina?
I don't know.
Queen?
What do I look like?
I'll ask her, okay?
Ask her.
Wow.
Her name's Lynda Rooke. She's also an actor, by the way, and that's what we do here on Offstage Acting. We interview actors, but she's an actor. She's the president of Equity. She's been around the block, professionally speaking.
Wow.
And I'm going to introduce her now. Yeah, wow. With that big wow, here she is. Lynda Rooke. Welcome, Lynda. There's your little applause. Hi. Did I get some of that right?
You did.
Did we have a great weekend or what?
We did, and it was an intense one, I would say.
Very. Yeah. Was it intense for you too, with all your?
Well, I'm on duty.
Yeah.
Do you know
well,
what I mean?
yeah,
I'm on duty from the Saturday lunchtime right the way through till the Monday we stop, basically.
And in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So Lynda's on the stage, and it was fun to watch her choreograph and direct because people want to speak, and she's go, okay, at the time, and you, I'm going to ask you, sit down, everybody up, everybody down, you up, you down.
Conductor. Wow.
Well, because, actors are hard to control anyway sometimes.
Yeah, herding cats.
We're like school children. Yeah, herding cats. And so.
Yes, I call it splat the rat.
Yeah, that's the one. Splat the rat.
And you whop them down,
Yeah, whack-a-mole, we call that in America. But yeah, she was doing a lot of splatting of rats.
No.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. And doing it very politely and things. But, actors, I will say this. It was not boring where you think of a convention where everybody's giving a speech about emotion. And it's like, you want to fall asleep. But no, because everybody's actors, it was all well done and passionate.
How cool.
But how many of those have you done, Lynda?
I've chaired now When I was vice president, because the president was busy working, I stood in for her. So when Maureen Beattie was president, I did two then. And since then, this is what's my fourth? Yeah.
Fourth. Is
Yeah.
that, and how long have you been, well, you've been in equity, obviously, your whole career. How long have you been like an activist and been active?
Oh, since I was in my 20s,
Really?
because I've always been a bit kind of, political,
Right.
interested in trade unions. Yeah.
Actors' rights and working
Yeah,
rights and
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And back in the day when I joined Equity, it was a closed shop, which is what you've got in the States, which is slightly different than what we've got here. So when Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, she was very anti-trade unions.
Yeah.
And you may have heard of the miners' strike that happened over here, etc.
Sure.
And so what started from that was that basically she brought in lots of trade union or anti-trade union
Yeah.
legislation.
Right.
And so some of that was to do with how you call a strike, when you can call a strike, who you can call a strike with. And basically it reduced our powers, and it also stopped us being a closed shop.
Okay.
So when I joined, you had to get a job,
Yeah.
and there were a certain number of equity cards, and people really had to struggle to get the equity cards. But now you have to prove that you've got to done a certain amount of work and of professional work and been paid for it, and then you can join.
Yeah, I think that's what I had to do. I don't know if it's changed a little bit. I've been a member pretty much since I got here. I've been here 14 years, so probably about 13 years. And I remember going down to the office back in the days before, you just do it all online. But yeah, go down to the office and show some receipts, I think, or some contracts actually.
Yeah.
Some professional work, and then they begged me to join. I said, well, all right. Now, but you mentioned this. This is a top question for me. I was going to save it, but now I'll bring it up. We can't strike. Right?
As in the UK,
Equity, we can.
We can, but the way it has to be done,
Right.
there has to be ballot taken. And the people who would be voting in that ballot have to have worked on the job of whatever it is, be it stage or screen or gaming or whatever,
Right.
for a certain period of time. Now, as you'll know, we are freelance often, and we're self-employed, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes our jobs are a day, a week, a month. Sometimes a year, sometimes two if you're doing a West End show, but that's not all the time.
No.
So it limits who can actually do the ballot and who can actually be considered to do it, and how that means that there's less people can do it, and it affects our ability to be able to monitor and control who can actually come in, and then we have to prove that we've done this ballot according to the law.
Right.
There's something called a certification officer, and they look after and make sure that all trade unions in the UK behave themselves and follow the rules. And if you don't do it, they come on you like a ton of bricks.
So essentially, because the question always was for me that I didn't quite understand, why didn't we also strike when SAG-AFTRA striked in the U.S.?
Not as easy. We've got draconian laws. We
Yeah.
had to go through this process. I was in LA.
Yeah.
I was in on the SAG-AFTRA negotiations whilst I was there. And at that stage, they would talk about self-tapes and the whole thing around AI. And I marched with Teamsters, Writers Guild of America, SAG-AFTRA, etc., through LA, from La Brea Park right the way through to downtown LA. And I was there for over a week. And I met with some of the leading people in Netflix, and also with Carol Lombardini, I think, if I remember her name rightly, she's kind of represents all the producers.
Right. Okay.
So I had dinner with her and with Paul Fleming in Beverly Hills.
I know that we were sympathetic, of course, and we had kind of a few marches here. Well, one particular day where we marched here a bit, or rallied, let's say, right, in sympathy or empathy, or what would you call it? In solidarity. There it is.
You got it.
That's the term. Geez, with our comrades in SAG-AFTRA, but the fact that we couldn't just pull up and say, "Well, we're not working either," it still somehow eludes me. But maybe we can continue talking.
As I say, it's to do with actually how you can vote. So, for instance, if we're talking about screen, okay, who's working in screen? How long have you been working in screen? If you're working on a soap, a continuing drama, that is possible. But if you're doing a one-off show for Netflix and you're doing 3 days or something for your character, then it doesn't make you eligible to actually vote. And you have to prove that the people who are going on strike have actually worked for a certain amount of time on a show.
On that project.
Yeah.
So it fractions us in a sense, right?
Yeah.
It splits us all into subcategories, micro subcategories that we can't really be united.
That's the problem. If you think back to the other one, we had that thing Stand Up for 17, which was the West End Theatre.
Yeah.
Right? They were there.
But so everybody was able,
Exactly. So what we could do is actually go along to the theatres, all of them in the West End. 85% of those working in those theatres on stage are our members. Now that's a lot.
Yeah,
so what we could do is then target them, because they've been working for some while, most of them, because they're long-running shows. We did the ballot. The ballot went strongly, 99% voted yes. And so we then threatened strike action if the producers didn't come to the table and make a decent offer.
Right.
Then we had the power.
Yeah, and that's 85% of their cast, and so there's no show. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense a bit. Now, is there anything being done about that currently?
Yeah, can it be changed?
Well, yeah, basically, I mean, this has been in place since the 80s, since Thatcher was Prime Minister. So what we've got to do now is, there is a general election this year at some point. And the Tory party have not been particularly sympathetic towards changing the law on this. So we're lobbying right across the board, because we're non-party political, Lib Dems, Greens, Labour, whatever, and some sympathetic Tories. And basically saying we want to change this, along with all the other trade unions. And that's what we're doing at the moment, trying to get the law changed.
Yeah, okay. Which means basically having to change the government in a sense, because, they won't. The current government is not going to. Well, they've never been Tories, meaning that's the rather conservative party, for those that don't know in this country.
Yeah.
Well, it is the conservative party, but they are conservative. It's called the
it's
conservative
big C,
party
little c.
Right. So that's why they're not. Yeah, they're not. Well, Thatcher herself was a conservative, right? So there you go. I want to talk about Lynda Rooke for a minute. Let's detach ourselves from equity.
Great.
For a minute. You've been around, and I don't want to put this. How do I put this? You have done every. Yeah, I know. You have done. This is the way I think it's best phrased. You've literally done every show that the UK ever produced. You've done. Is that correct? I mean, I was looking at your stuff and I was like, wait a minute. Coronation Street, the Doctors,
EastEnders.
Did you do EastEnders?
No, but my husband directed that.
He directed it. Okay, yeah. Emmerdale. No, that's another one. Okay, Casualty. You did Casualty.
Oh God, I've been 4 characters in that.
You've been Hollyoaks.
Seriously. Basically, what happens is, I was a semi-regular. I was a consultant's wife in it for some of the time, but I've also been an army commandant. I've done. I was a housewife on one occasion, and then something else as well. I mean, literally, I've done 4 characters.
That's
like 4 characters on Coronation Street.
Yeah.
I worked in the factory. What was a guy called Mike Baldwin's factory. They make underwear and things, a garment factory. So I worked there, and I'm currently I'm currently serving 20 years for perverting the course of justice.
Oh,
Your character's in the pokey.
Yeah, but I will be released.
You'll be released. All right.
Yes.
You'll be
Spoiler.
back.
Point.
Yeah, is that a spoiler? Should we? Did you?
Oh well, no. I mean, it's just that it's a ridiculous
Eventually,
sentence,
yeah.
so the
Right.
whole thing is barking. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I play baddies
Yeah, you play baddies. You told me that before.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance in time to. Do you have a show reel?
I do. Yes, I do. My agent. Yes, it's on Spotlight.
Somewhere.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be on Spotlight. I didn't get a chance to grab it. Usually on the show, we show people's show reel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll have to dig it out.
So yeah, I think every British show, sort of the main because I'm Northern and I'm Irish heritage, so I don't tend to play particularly posh people, but I do. Yeah, if there's anything Northern or whatever, I tend to be in it. Silent Witness, I've been 3 characters in that. Waking the Dead, yeah, wow. You name it.
So let's favorite.
Oh yeah, what's your favorite?
Favorite? I worked with Victoria Wood. She was a comedian, and sadly she's no longer with us. And I did a show called Pat and Margaret, which was very successful. It was a one-off drama, but of quite a big one, and that still gets shown occasionally now. And that was a pleasure to do. Yeah, I did a Foyle's War, again playing a baddie, and I enjoyed doing that one.
Fun.
Yeah. So,
you say baddie, you mean just like evil people or just people that have no...
Both.
Yeah, okay. No social.
Yeah.
How did you get typecast like that? Psychopaths, antisocial, scumbags, the worst.
I love it.
Those are the great character roles, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did The Wizard of Oz and I was the witch. That's...
Right. Yeah. They didn't give you Dorothy. Oh, man. This is...
Nah, no way. I'd never. No. When I remember when I started acting, people sort of aspired to be playing Juliet or whatever.
Yeah.
I never got a look in on those. Maybe destiny was that I would always, be heading towards being a trade unionist and all that comes with it.
Right, fighting for the rights of...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, those are the more interesting roles, though, aren't they? I think, ultimately.
Yeah, I think they are. Yeah.
So how did Lynda Rooke end up where she is? She started you were born in the north. Where was it again? You told me.
Lancaster.
Oh, Lancaster.
Right by the Lake District.
Nice, beautiful up there.
Beautiful.
But your parents had come over from Ireland, you'd said.
Yeah, basically, my dad, and he just never got back on the boat. So I was born in England on the coast there, literally just across from Belfast.
Yeah, okay.
And of course, Belfast, I don't have to explain much.
Yeah.
I still have family there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So it was the time of the Troubles, and he bailed out.
Yeah.
Took the family to safety. Okay.
Yeah. And so we've got, being typical Irish family, I've got family in Canada, family in Australia.
Right. Spread out.
Boston.
Yeah. No.
Everybody's got somebody in Boston.
I had a cousin who worked in LA, but yeah. Right. Yeah.
So you're basically born there and raised there.
Yeah.
You kept a little bit. Well, you have a bit of an Irish lilt still.
Yes.
Which you can, I'm sure, turn on and off at Reum. Yeah. What age did you kind of start heading into an acting track?
Okay, so I was a not obvious because the school I went to, they didn't really do drama or anything like that. It was quite a straight, all girls, academically focused school. And I was games captain because I loved, well, I still do, long distance running.
Okay.
I used to run in the All England, so it was kind of a passion,
Yeah. Cross country or marathon?
Yeah, I've done those, yeah. And my favourite's half marathon. I don't think anybody, just as a side thing, even the world's best runner actually enjoys
a marathon.
Whereas,
right.
Whereas a half marathon, you can remain sane, if you like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went into the headmistress the day I got my results. I was being encouraged to go to university. I was going to study geography. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to act. And she said, no, that's stupid. That's a stupid thing to do. What are you doing? That's ridiculous. So nobody in my family acted. My dad was a nurse.
Yeah.
And
why do you think, it just didn't make sense? at the time?
Well, it's just I was northern in that bit of the world where
Yeah.
there was a theatre had only just opened, a
Right.
professional theatre in my city.
Right.
So there was no, it was, and I went and I saw it and I thought, this is wonderful. I get it. I
Right.
want
Oh,
to
so you
do
saw
it.
some theater, and that's where you
Yeah,
got you got
yeah,
hooked.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How
And
old were you?
television.
Was this about 14, 15, 16, something?
Yeah, it was exactly
You
that
kind of
time.
career counselor, we call that, I think, in the States, but
Yeah.
and so
And
you had that conversation.
yeah, but they didn't like it.
No.
They
What did
didn't like it at all.
they wanted you to go get a trade or something, probably, yeah.
Yeah, they were going to be a teacher.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, go on, do something like that.
Oh, yeah, you want to be in front of an audience,
Yeah,
go teach in front of a classroom
exactly.
full of kids. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And in fact, I do teach at drama schools, but that's another matter. But
Yeah.
so in the end, I said, okay, you're not going to help me when as I left school.
Right.
So I went down to what was then, they don't really have them now, local careers office.
Yeah.
And I said, I want to go to drama school. And they went, okay, well, here's a list of the drama schools. Because it was, back in those days, it wasn't email. It was, you had to write off a phone.
Right, sure.
And I did some auditions and I got offered at East 15 Acting School.
Okay.
And at that stage, Joan Littlewood was still around the school. Yeah. She was running the theatre down in Stratford East 15.
Yeah.
And I went down there and studied there for 3 years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so a long way from home.
Yeah.
Very
your teenage
different,
years.
with a very broad, relatively, to now, a really broad northern accent, So they sort of said, you've got to get rid of that. And I was very resistant.
What did they want you to have? Just a RP or a general?
Well, yeah, because I think you
Flatten it
start
a
to
bit?
lose your identity somehow within yourself. The idea is that you should be able to redo it.
Well, yeah.
Don't, be yourself,
Yeah, but they wanted you to be general.
Yeah.
General English or something.
Because in those times it was like that.
Yeah.
Whether you were Scots, Welsh, whatever.
Yeah, because you're not going to get work, presumably, with the BBC if you got northern accent, right? Then
starting, yes. But actually, the weird thing is in the end, I ended up working for the RSC. I worked cross-regional rep, I've done that whole range from small-scale touring through to political theatre, 784 Theatre Company and others, and right the way through reps, national theatre, commercial tours. I don't tend to do big musicals. It's not my real forte. But yeah, theatre right away, and then television. Yeah.
So 784 Theatre Company. Well, you went to the school. What was that one?
East 15 Acting School.
East 15. A lot of numbers.
Loughton, Essex.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's 3 years?
Yeah.
And that was a drama school?
Yeah. Solid acting.
Just straight acting. All right. 784. And you come out of that and you go over to the 784 then?
Well, no, I got my equity card with Manchester Library Theatre.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And in fact, they let me out early and I went and did a panto there. So I was still at drama school, did a panto over Christmas, got my equity card, went back to drama school, finished off, did my, and left in the July.
Right. With equity card too, which probably gave you a little prestige back then. Everybody's like, ooh, because that was hard to get, harder.
It was,
sure.
So it was useful.
Yeah, very useful. So then you could, as soon as you got out, again, properly, you could go straight to work.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's
what you did.
Yeah. So I worked in Newcastle, back in Manchester.
What kind of shows were you doing?
God, how many? I was doing theatre and education, as well as things like The Devils at Newcastle Theatre.
Right.
Remember that? Do you remember the film?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we did that, and there's various shows around, more pantos. I tell you who was in the company with me when I was working in Newcastle was a young man who was a teacher then called Gordon Sumner.
Yeah, I know that name.
Sting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And he was a teacher.
He was a teacher, and in his part-time, he was playing in the band at the theatre.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Shows.
So that was like The Police was his band then?
Yeah.
Was he calling it The Police back then?
Yeah. The Police band, yeah.
Yeah. Wow, okay. That's cool. And he was your teacher?
Well, no, he was just teaching at schools in Newcastle.
Right. Wow. Okay. That's
So
cool.
he'd come in of a night, he'd do his day job, come
Yeah.
in of a night, do that. That's where he met Frances Tomelty, his first wife.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
they did a show together there.
so
Yeah.
you spent a lot of time up in Newcastle area.
Yeah, I spent a good year or more. And when
Right.
I finished it, I didn't go straight back to London. I sold caravans on Gosforth Racecourse just to earn some money.
Okay.
I worked in a wine bar.
So we're talking about 20, 21 at this point now? 20,
Oh, I'm about 23 now.
23. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
And there was one night. Newcastle's a bit like Birmingham, you know. It
Yeah.
has that.
Yeah.
It's got that
Wild.
notoriety.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like Birmingham's Brum Vegas, you know. So
Right.
Newcastle is the
Vegas.
kind. You know,
Yeah.
it's got the same sort of stuff going on. And there's some. It was a big. Back in the day, in particular, it was a big docks. There was massive docks there, serving the East Coast and going between the Netherlands, Germany, and wherever,
Mm-hmm.
and big shipyards.
Yeah.
And there was an
Hence
area
the
just on the.
nightlife.
Yeah, yeah. So there's an area called South Shields, which was again a dock area, shipyards, and the staff, for some reason, had they were part of a chain that of bars that I helped out in, and they said you've got to go and work at this pub called the Douglas Faults. The barmaids have walked out. We have no staff there. You've got to go and do it. Now the tradition in Newcastle is you have a pint of bitter shandy before you start your serious drinking, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Which is a half of lemonade
Yeah.
and half of lager or beer.
Yeah.
And the idea is you drink that very fast. You don't waste your money on that on full beer, and then you go on the beers, right? So the first thing people do come to way I pet, can I have a pint of shandy? So but what the barmaids had done was empty the lemonade and filled it with peppermint cordial.
Ooh.
Do you know what that is? That's neat stuff.
Disgusting.
I know. So basically, I poured a half pint of peppermint cordial and put it with a half pint of lager or beer, whichever was required. And this guy drank it, and the steam was coming out of his ears. He said, "Why have you put in that?" So yeah.
So those are the days, huh?
Well, basically, the guy came and said, "I know who's done that. I know who's done that one." So yeah.
Bit of crack up there, was it?
Yeah.
A bit of good times.
It's a great city if ever you get the chance, and the Theatre Royal is beautiful.
Well, really. I just met the show producer for the Theatre Royal up there, Nigel.
Yeah.
Nigel March. I just met him at the Equity event, and his wife Sarah, for Newcastle, and they invited me up recently, so I probably will get up there actually.
Oh, great!
Thanks to the
back in the day, there used to be at the interval, the curtain would come across for the show, and out from the depths would rise this kind of organ, if you like, but it's an electrical one. And he'd always, when you're coming around serving, drinks or ice creams, he'd play Old Solo Mio, which is just one cornetto.
Right.
The theme tune to the ice cream. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but there is a
Oh Solo Mio.
Thank you. Yes, it's just they turn it to just one cornetto, right, which is the Wall's ice cream.
Yeah, that's the ice cream you can buy pre-made ice cream. Thing. Yeah, very popular. So, okay, now you're about 23, 24. Is there a point where you decide, okay, I got to get out of Newcastle. I better get down to London?
I did.
Where the action is?
I started, I lived in Hackney, East London, and worked at the RSC, worked on a few shows there, all in London at the Aldwych Theatre. And I was in the first show that opened the Donmar Warehouse.
Oh, my gosh.
Which was a play, wait for it, called Bandits, set in Newcastle upon Tyne.
Oh, wow. Perfect casting. Yeah. That's kismet. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked there for over a year or more, or longer. And then I went to work for this company called 784 Theatre Company.
Yeah.
Which was created by John McGrath, who was a playwright and a screenwriter. And he named it after the stats that were 7% of the population of the UK owned 84% of the nation's wealth.
All right.
I think it's got worse, actually.
Yeah.
I think
Really?
now I don't know what it would be, but I think it's worse. And I did a number of shows, but one of them was Trafford Tansy, which was wrestling. I had to wrestle.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
and I had to wrestle for real. And I got taught by the late an actor called Brian Glover, a Northern actor who was a wrestler as well as an actor, and the British middleweight champion Brian Maxine, and a female wrestler called Mitzi Muller from Liverpool.
Wow.
And you had to do it. There was
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. It was actually like a match. It was a proper
yeah, because it's
on stage.
it's like a choreographed thing.
Yeah.
So it's the Irish whips, the Nelsons, the half Nelsons, the
Yeah.
the hair mares, the lot.
Yeah.
Off
But
the
it's
ropes.
off the ropes, bouncing off. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah.
I used
Like
to have to stand on the top rope in the
mm-hmm.
corner,
And fly.
jump onto my partner, who was called Dean Rebel, pin him down and hold him down, and that was kind of her specialist move.
Right. We call it the Superfly
Yeah.
snooker. There was a guy
Yeah,
called
yeah,
Superfly
yeah. So you get,
snooker.
it's like my kids when they were little, and they worked when they were little. In this room where I'm sat, used to come in and ask to be put up in
Right.
child abuse, up into the aeroplane, which is
Yeah.
across the shoulder, spin round, tip up, and throw them onto the settee, and they would line up in a row.
Do it to me. Do it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
My turn.
Yeah.
And you
They
had that
love this
experience,
They
of
go,
course.
woo, wee.
Yeah. I did it to my kids too. Chuck them across the room. They loved it. My wife at the time's like, she loves it. She's fine.
Yeah.
So that's quite how many?
What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Boom, boom, boom. The neighbors. How many shows? How many of those did you do?
Oh God, it went on for years.
So you're wrestling every night.
Asking me to tour. I did it up in Leeds. I did another version of it up in Leeds. They asked me to go to Canada with it.
Right. Oh,
in fact, by then I'd just done about 2.5 years, 3. I went, I think,
that's enough wrestling.
Yeah,
I'm more wrestler than actor now.
Yeah, exactly. but you felt quite confident walking the streets.
Yeah. Bring it.
Yeah, come on.
Show me what you got. I wrestle every night. You're not gonna get me, buddy. That's good times. Okay, so moving on. At what point did you start getting kind of into telly?
Round about that then.
Okay.
That was it, really. Round about then, I started to work on my first. My first show I did was a Play for Today. Have you ever heard of those?
No.
They were like one-off plays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I get it. Yeah.
Televised
one-off plays. Yeah.
Yes, I got a part as a TV reporter in that, and then in fact, my very first television appearance. Wait for this, was Come Dancing. Before Strictly.
Yeah.
I was at drama school and we did Home County Central because I was in Essex.
Right.
And we did the offbeat section. And Terry Wogan at the time. Yeah. Terry Wogan, who was the compere, host, said afterwards, well, that certainly was offbeat.
Was that you dancing in the?
There was our whole year. The whole year group did it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we did it too. Dressed as clowns to Spanish Flea, which was
yeah. Oh boy.
I mean,
can I ask kind of what's a rough year we're talking about now?
Well, I was still at drama school then, so we were talking in the 70s. Mid to late 70s.
I can just picture how horrendous this TV the show.
Looking back now, it's crazy, but yeah.
It's fun. I mean, it's an absolute fun, but yeah, the kind of stuff that was on telly back then, especially in Britain.
Yeah,
you out there with your friends clowning around doing Little Spanish Flea.
And of course, then ultimately Strictly came on, obviously, about.
Sure, yeah, that's a proper show now. Proper celebrities doing proper dances, yeah. But you must have started, I mean, from there, was it just start rolling?
Yeah, I did. I was in Yanks, the John Schlesinger one. Do you remember that one?
The film?
Yeah.
Oh, were you? Yeah, that's with Richard Gere.
The young girls that popped in.
Okay, I love that's a great old film with Richard Gere.
Yeah, and Vanessa Redgrave.
Vanessa Redgrave, yeah. Who also did the Devil's movie you mentioned before, I think.
Yeah, she did. And from then on, I just popped into most tellies. I did Z-Cars, which was a cop thing back in the day, right on its final series.
Okay. Yeah.
Playing a young woman who ran a stall in a market. But yeah. And then I did Brookside. I did, yeah.
So a lot of working class parts, kind of,
I
was it?
always, well, yeah.
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 So
I
it's always.
occasionally did. When I was worked at Exeter Northcote, I played Clara Eynsford Hill in My Fair Lady, which
Okay.
was, she was posh.
Yeah. All right.
She was terribly posh. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, but yeah, those kind of quite big parts, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So things were, I mean, you thought the things were pretty good for you back then.
Yeah, I was working my way through reps right across Liverpool. I worked a lot in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Range of shows that we did there. My God, we did Shakespeare. We did do Shakespeare there, Midsummer Night's Dream and various things. And then I went back into some political theatre, fringe theatre, toured in Ireland, a play called Emigrants. We did it at the Project Theatre in Dublin and then toured it. Royal Court, I worked at the Royal Court on shows. So yeah, it was a mix and match. Never anything in one, you know what I mean? One thing went to another. But
back
yeah,
to theater, then telly, and then picking.
Yeah.
What was it kind of like back then for an actor who's doing theater, but you had an agent that was trying to put you up for film and telly, right?
Yeah.
Back in London.
Yes.
And then so what was kind of, maybe walk us through that process, how it used to be, where you, okay, I'm in a show in Liverpool or something, but now what do you get on a train? You head back down to London?
Sure. That's exactly what you did, because it's before Zoom. So yeah,
sure.
That's what you did.
And then you get back up to even do the show that night, maybe. Yeah.
But how many times have I been working on a show and maybe a mate's gone down for an interview,
right,
and the trains went screwed.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, who could do the part? I have stuffed a costume in Exeter. We were doing the Christmas show.
Yeah.
And there was two shows, doing My Fair Lady, and we're doing a kids show in the afternoon. And he was late for the kids show. And there were these things called the oogly googlies. Just don't go there on that one, okay?
Okay, I'll leave it.
And they were like you all had to wear body costumes in the halls with a mask.
Right.
And he didn't show. So we stuffed his costume and carried us between it onto the stage,
like a
between
dummy.
two other oogly googlies.
The oogly googlies. Just shake him around like
So we shook him around, and there was a lot of the lads playing the soldiers.
Yeah.
So we then threw the oogly googly, stuffed one that is, at the soldiers, who in turn wrestled it to the ground and threw it onto the next one, and took great delight in the full,
enjoying now the process of let's get this, we got one.
Yeah.
And then so everybody realized we didn't even,
that's what you had
to do. Probably realized, well, we didn't need that guy at all. We fire him. He's a much better stuffed guy. We can save a little money. I just kind of, because those days for sure, I mean, to say you were a working actor, things are different now, and that's kind of, I mean, it's just the era we're in, but, you can be out of work for a long time, whereas I think back in your days, if you were already up at a level and working, you might not be making any money, right? But you certainly were keeping very busy, going from one show to the next, and lots of auditions and
and there was always the potential. There was always the next interview. You always knew there were big seasons coming up. There were jobs available.
Right.
You didn't always get everyone you went up for, but there was a process.
There was a process, and there was stuff, and presumably too, as more and more international productions were happening here, American stuff, bringing like Yanks and things going back out and forth. It was just growing, I guess, is what I'm saying.
It did. And then there was Europe, of course.
Yeah.
The other big thing is, like in the case of my husband, he's before COVID and before Brexit, he was working a lot in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, we talked about that. Now, who's your husband?
Who?
Yeah, what's his
name is Andy Hay.
Andy Hay, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And he was an actor as well.
He was an actor and then became a director.
Yeah. How'd you meet?
And worked in theatre. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was with the old Bristol Vic.
Yeah, because he came from where you live.
Yeah, that's right. Andy Hay from Leighton Buzzard.
That's right.
local boy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how did you meet your husband?
I worked on a show called Road by Jim Cartwright
Mm-hmm.
at the Bolton Octagon Theatre.
Okay.
Again, a big northern play that's done as sort of a promenade.
Right.
So you actually open the theatre out and you work around the audience.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And
I
you do a
love that.
scene here, and the audience move, and they just work with you on it.
Yeah, I love that.
That's cool.
And I
So
played about 4 characters, and
Right.
we all did.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you go off, and there'd be another scene, then you come back on.
yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of swearing, so I promise I won't swear. But there was in that show. Jim writes like that.
Yeah. Okay. And he was, he was an actor in that as well. And so you spent.
Oh, he directed it.
Oh, he directed it. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
How long was that run?
Oh, that ran for about 2 months or so.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, because they don't do long ones. It's because they're, regional theatres. But I tell you who was in that show, and you may have heard of him, a poet called John Cooper Clarke.
I don't know that name.
Oh, yeah, he's a punk Mancunian.
Oh, okay.
I bet you'd recognise him if you saw him. It's all right, along there,
What's the name again? Cooper Clarke?
John Cooper Clarke, yeah.
Cooper.
Cooper Clarke, yeah. He's a cracking poet, actually. Yeah.
I'll just look him up real quick.
Yeah, and he was in the show. And of course, being Bolton, Manchester, it went down well.
You must have worked with a ton of people who became,
Yeah, it's weird when you look back and oh yeah.
Yeah. Because it was a bit more insular, I suppose, and smaller. I'm looking at him now. I see.
Yeah, you've got him glasses.
Yeah, glasses, rock and roll kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it was. I mean, it's still fairly small anyway if you're an actor in any community. But back in those days, it must have been really insular.
It was, but because she moved
family.
around so much,
Well, and you end up meeting everybody that way.
Yeah, you do.
People
you do.
come from all parts of the country and things. It's
sure, and then you'd meet them on television shows.
Yeah. And then you see them later in something. Oh yeah, we worked together. So I mean, did it feel a bit like family back in those days? There
was a bit of a feel to it, especially if playing lots of Northerners and Irish. There was a kind of a feeling of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we're all in this together.
Yeah. And you sort of knew who would be going up for the parts. You know who to expect to see in auditions.
Right. Yeah. You'd be like, oh, I bet they'll be there. Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. It's funny because we talked about this at the Equity Conference over the weekend, and I spoke directly with you in the Fringe event that we'd done regarding the working class actor. You're a very working class actor, especially of the time, and we were bemoaning a bit, or when it's bemoanable that in this country, and I don't think it's something that other markets suffer from, but the class system for actors. What was your experience with that, and in the day and now?
Okay, so I was once working on a show, a very successful show in Liverpool, and it was that successful that they brought it from the studio down to the main house and redid it. And when it came down to the main house, there was a different guy playing my husband in it, and it was a northern piece, and it was like a northern whodunit. And back in the day, a lot of those kind of whodunits were the kind of Agatha Christie type, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Plot
sure.
plants, Vickers, the maid and the drunken colonel or something,
Jay loves those kind of.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, okay. So it's a bit like that. So this guy, who in fact wrote a lot for Coronation Street, thought, no, I'm going to write one which is working class. So he wrote this story of a whodunit and things, and it's very successful. And but this particular actor came in, and he was rather grand.
Yeah.
And one day, about week 2 of rehearsals, he said, "Oh yes, but this comes easy to you. Well, you're not really acting, are you?"
Oh man.
Because I was using my own voice. Somehow that didn't equate with acting.
Right. You're just being yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it.
If you're not putting on some airs,
yes, exactly,
and playing, then
and there certainly was a bit of an attitude about that, the them and us, and But what was interesting was and I do say this, is that they were quite happy to come and play the us, if you
Sure,
like, you know.
they
Yeah,
downgrade themselves to
yeah.
a working
But
class part.
the journey didn't happen quite
The
so
other
much in
way.
the opposite
Right.
direction.
Right, of course, yeah. Because if
Yeah,
you're posh, let's say, for lack of a better
yeah,
term, and you're playing down to working class, then you're performing.
yeah.
But if you're working class and you're playing posh, then you're overstepping your bounds.
That's it.
Right? How
That's it.
dare you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
you're maybe even being like making fun of the posh a bit or something.
Yeah.
Odd. That's very odd. But see,
It's
now I
odd
made
to
a
meet, yeah.
yeah. Jay and I have no real experience with that, and I mentioned that in the Fringe event that we were into, where we spoke that in America, of course, the only kind of class system I think we have. Maybe Jay can back me up. Is I think it just looks.
It's just looks.
I think the only class structure we have in an American acting system is based on looks. Like if you're gorgeous,
Oh, sorry, I thought.
beautiful,
Yeah.
if you have Brad Pitt looks, then you just automatically elevated, regardless of talent or education
What
or
about
background.
age?
Well, there's ageism, of course. So yeah, you have to be in your 20s or you had to have been in your 20s back in the day. 20 something and beautiful, and you'll be ushered into the fast track, as it were. And even if you're talentless and never been trained, we'll get that for you. We'll provide that, the production companies and things.
That's true. I do know somebody. You know, Tony Blair, the Prime Minister.
Sure.
Well, he's married to Sherry Blair,
Right, yeah.
and her dad was an actor, quite a
Yeah.
well-known actor in his day, Tony
Yeah.
Booth.
Right.
And Tony was once working with him, and he said to me, "Well, yeah, of course, television and film made Lassie a star.
Yeah.
You know, and if you can do it for a dog,
Yeah, if you can do it for Rin Tin Tin and
exactly,
Mr. Ed,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to say, actually. In America, it's more like we will manufacture a star and a celebrity and a movie star and a celebrity. And if we can happen to get them to be also okay at acting, then all the better. But if they're not, that's not a problem either. We've still got our star because there's money to be made there.
Whatever makes money.
Whatever
That's
makes
the
money.
real thing.
Whereas here in this country, and I think that's part of the reason why sometimes, or more often than not, the American market loves the British actor, because they've been properly trained and experienced, and they come over and they can work. So if you happen to be gorgeous and British and well-trained and talented and can do an American accent, then the doors are wide open for you.
Sure.
In America.
Sure. I can believe.
But apart from, yeah.
But I think the stories I've heard is also the other weird one, and this is quite weird, I think. But maybe you can explain this. That sometimes British actors go over to, especially to California, and they're taken under the wing of people and told you've got to lose so many pounds. You know?
Yeah.
And then at that point, they're then
You
put
went to
under a
Los Angeles.
trainer and a regime
Right.
of diet that is very strict or whatever. And you see it, don't you? You see these people. I'm not going to name names now, but I've got people in my mind who I know have gone over there. And you look and you go, is that the same guy that...
Yeah.
Wow.
Their teeth have been straightened somewhere along the line,
Or
and
veneers
and whatever, and maybe the nose has been adjusted, or there's some adjustments been made. But even the American guy, Tom, go look at an old Tom Cruise movie and see the kind of mouthful of teeth that he has. He didn't have that perfect smile, and then all of a sudden he shows up with it. But we recently did an interview with my agent, Mandy Perryment, who you might have recalled. She's from your era.
Yeah.
Played a lot of kind of cute ditzy blondes in her time, and did the kind of story that emerged was that she was gonna, on the Love Boat. You remember the Love Boat? And they were gonna have her as a series regular, but they requested that she have her breasts augmented before they gave her the part. And it was a big role worth $1 million, let's say, because it was
they'd assumed she was going to say yes too.
6-year contract. Yeah, I think they assumed she was going to say yes. This is the 80s, and she turned it down. But that was exactly, gorgeous woman too. Nothing,
Beautiful.
Yeah, cute and looked great in she was a proper dancer and all that stuff. So there was nothing wrong with her. Just They went, well, she needs bigger breasts. And then when she gets the part, it was just like, that's America. That's the difference.
Okay, so that's the Baywatch kind of side of things then.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the optics of the show. We want to improve the optics or whatever the show. I don't know how much of that still sort of holds water and weight today, but or at least outwardly. That was an outward, just like, boom, that's in the contract. She does this, she gets that. Nowadays, I'm sure it's a little bit more done under the radar, as it were.
Yeah, but NDA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, without any further discussion. Yeah, but in terms of the working class actor in this country, I had also said something about, or I have this kind of opinion or this feeling that there was a shift at some point, and I wanted to see if you thought I was accurate when I said that, but that there was a time. And I want to, for audiences, I want everybody to kind of understand what the dilemma here is in this country. Acting was a profession that was not qualified for someone of upper classes. It wasn't that long ago that prostitutes and actors were basically grouped into the same category. So it wouldn't have been worthy of someone of a certain status to be an actor. It's not a career choice. Until somewhere along the line there was celebrity, money, power, fame to be garnered, then all of a sudden, oh, we'll have a bit of that then, yes. Now the time has come that they go, okay, well, we can take that, the posh. I don't know how accurate that is, but it seemed that we got into that kind of place at some point.
There was a kind of a shift. It came as a kind of, as one was going down, the other one arrived. So if you think about it, before Scream, before actual, silent movies, but do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
People were working around the UK in variety halls, music halls, theatres, etc. And it was hard work, really hard work.
Proper.
You'd finish on a Saturday, you get a train. Apparently everybody met at Crewe Station. It was one of those places, where, oh, hello, we're off to, I don't know, Stafford.
Where are you going? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was damn hard work, and it wasn't well paid. It wasn't well paid, particularly. And there was fame to an extent, but it was never coming with what the trappings.
And no upper class in their right mind or with a good family
so
would have been
it would
allowed.
be the likes of Eric Morecambe of Morecambe and Wise or whoever. And those people, that's where it was coming from. Then a screen, in particular television, started to come in and film. Yes, you got your Michael Caine's, yes, you got whoever, but you also got the Oliver Reeds of this world, who come from a much more upper class background, who got whatever. And suddenly, as that shift occurred, where money and fame and I won't say a cushy life, because it's never, because working on films are long days, but overall there was
celebrity
a lot of status. There was celebrity status.
For sure.
And as that shifted, there was an interest.
Yeah.
And what's also interesting is that the public schools in England, the difference between state and public, is that their facilities, so I won't say suddenly, but they've invested money into them now.
Right.
So that there are theatres, not just one, more than one theatre, proper facilities for screen acting, stage acting.
Yeah. Proper stages, really professional theaters.
And then when they leave, they send in casting directors. It's a full out event. The sort of event that you used to have at drama schools.
Yeah.
This is,
now
this is
just
happening
at a private
now
school,
in a private public.
And to get people to send their child to that private school, they build those that kind of infrastructure because
they do.
Well, I want my kid to be famous.
Yeah. And also, I dare say, as the cost of going to drama school shifted, I went and managed to get a grant.
Yeah.
Because I could never have gone, just no way.
Right.
I didn't live in London, and as that's now become a burden, as you know, about university fees and for anybody who comes from a background where they have not got the monetary, the financial support to do it, and they don't live in the London or the Southeast in particular, but not just, I'm not saying that that isn't possible, because there's poverty in that area as well. The thought of that kind of burden of debt on top of everything else,
for not a guarantee in the the
exactly,
acting world is
exactly. How do you consider it?
how do you justify spending that kind of money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you do, you'll do it for a short while. And if there's no success, you leave.
Yeah.
It's survival,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there has been a complete shift now in the UK with the types of actors that are being produced and sent out into the world.
But if you think of some of the ones who go to the States.
Yeah. I know some of them personally as well. And, and
don't make them bad people. Don't get me wrong.
No, it just, the leg up that we could all used at some point. It was much easier. It seems more of a lateral move.
It does. And there's networking. There's all of those things. There's the confidence. There's a confidence,
and the backing, financial and otherwise,
Yeah, and if you're not having to work, and I think you heard this in the debate the other day, if you're not having to work just to keep a roof over your head when you're not doing your acting job, then if you've just done a 10-hour shift at Sainsbury's, the supermarket, and then a self-tape comes in, and it's got to be in the next day or within 36 hours, and you've got to learn the lines, arrange to get the mate round to do the reading with you, and you're in work the next day, and you can't say no to the thing, because that's what's keeping you in the building and paying your bills, it gets really difficult. Whereas if you don't have to worry about that, and you can phone up, Fenella to come round and do the reading with you.
And in the evenings, you can afford to go out and network. You can go to shows. You have time to travel to things and events. And of course.
And there's a very good chance that Mummy and Daddy know somebody in the industry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And now you're making, you're meeting their friends and all this. Yeah, this is so your work, now that we're on to it.
Yeah.
When did you get serious about working for the union?
Well, I don't get paid.
No,
it's voluntary, but over the years.
Well, you're elected.
Yeah. So I was chair of the Women's Committee for 2 terms, and I was on it for 3. Right. And that was around the time I was having my children.
Okay.
I've got 3 children, and I was aware that childcare and working in the industry, basically, if there's like a lot of women, or parents in the industry, especially if you're a single parent or a carer, sometimes you can work for nothing just to pay for the caring, to keep your career going.
Definitely.
And I was like, this is crazy. The whole thing's crazy. And actually, the work-life balance and how the industry goes, couldn't give a damn about your personal life. It's your fault you've had kids. It's like, whoa, what's going on? No other industry quite so about it. So I got involved with the Women's Committee on all of those things, and also ageism and all the things you were talking about just before about, you need to have your breasts augmented, or harassment and bullying, and what we now know as Me Too. So all of those things was that. And then I was on the screen, a new media committee for a while, and then I was on council. I sort of built it, if you like. I came through sort of building it, being with the branch, the Bristol branch, doing all that. And I came back in about, I don't know, 3 terms ago on council. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go for vice president. And me and Jackie went, you're going to go for, but there's 2 vice presidents. We went, so we did. Okay. And we both became vice president.
All right.
So we worked as a team, a good team. Maureen was president. We worked well with her. And then Maureen, did her terms and finished. And I went, okay, I'm going to go for president. Because I'd been doing the conferences. I'm used to chairing, because I'd chaired before on things. Chaired through the whole COVID and Zoom, and do you remember all that? Wow,
Yeah, sure.
Everybody's
what does it mean to chair.
Yeah,
running
and
the meetings.
exactly. So bit by bit, and then there I
So
was
this is not your first term as president.
No, well, I'm just finishing my first term, and
Okay.
I'm starting my next one in July. Uh, I've been nominated, but nobody stood against me. It was uncontested.
Oh, really? Is
They
it too
dare.
late? Is it too
They
late?
dare. No, basically.
Wait a
No,
minute.
so
My
basically,
political future.
yeah, it meant that it's just uncontested.
Yeah. So you've been active, what, I don't know, 10, 15 years kind of?
Oh God, no longer.
Oh.
Overall, I would say I was in my first one was Southwest Area Committee. Tony Robinson
Okay.
said to me, "You should be on this," because I was working in Bristol with a company called Avon Touring, and I was probably coming up 30. And he said, "You should do this."
Wow.
So I
Okay.
went along and worked there.
Oh, so you've
Got
been
on the committee there,
quite a
and then
while. Yeah.
I ran something called Job Grapevine. I was chair of that. That kind of wound. It was a job info service before really there was anything like that,
Yeah.
and it ran for a while. Then children started to appear, so I backed off for a bit. Then I came back in with the women's committee and worked my way through really. So I'd say seriously, head down stuff. 20 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, I was kind of surprised, and maybe you can walk me through some of this, the history a bit, and maybe just even a primer of the history of equity. But some of the topics that were coming up in the form of the at, at the conference, the motions, they were, to me, I almost had to say, well, why hasn't this been addressed before? This seems very like the cruise ship one, for example, sticks out, and it's like, have we not been able to in the? I mean, it's on my hat here. I think we've been around almost 100 years, right? How come, so what has changed in the last, because now it seems like a lot more is happening, even in the 15 years that I've lived in this country and been a member of Equity, let's say, up to a lot more is now happening in the last, I don't know, post-COVID, even posts and with the SAG strike and stuff. So what has changed in 20 years?
I think people have got more strident, more confident to actually go, yeah, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I think for a long while, we've got that phrase from resilience to resistance,
Yeah.
right? And I think a lot of people just put up with things for years.
Is that just a British thing?
Could well be,
Partially, like
and
a
also,
cultural thing?
yeah, you're lucky you're working. Oh,
Right.
we've had
Don't want to
this
rock the boat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't upset
that.
anyone, because Americans, we don't have that problem.
I know, and I admire that. I admire
Yeah.
that way of going. I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Pretty immediate.
Exactly, and I think we have that confidence.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting it.
Getting it. Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think the pandemic, changed things because everybody thought we're gonna come back and build back better, and some of you all went, okay,
Right.
well that hasn't happened, has it? So let's do something about it.
Yeah. And the SAG, I think the SAG after strike in the States also, and our solidarity with them, and seeing, because we hadn't had a strike that big since was it this 90s, 80s maybe? There was a big actors strike, I remember, prior to that, where there was a lot of changes, but this was the biggest we had seen in decades. Major changes. And we're so intertwined as well here, Britain and the U.S.,
Sure.
our markets and our performers, and the entertainment industry in general. It's basically the 51st state in that respect, right?
Yeah, because we're English speaking. I mean, that is the predominant language, and it's not the only one.
Well, and the studio systems have been cooperative for 70 years,
Sure.
Or more. Making all kinds of James Bond, the Muppets. I mean, it's a long list of Pink Panther.
Yeah.
All these films from the 50s and 60s that are essentially all of Disney. Disney was rocking out all kinds of Mary Poppins and the Darby and the Little People, or whatever, Darby McGill and Little People with Sean Connery. So productions have been cross-pollinating, if you will, between the U.S. and Britain for at least 70 years.
Absolutely. More. And I did a Jim Henson movie.
Mm-hmm.
Filmed it in St Albans. Yeah.
Did you? What was that one?
I
Was it
know.
a
Yeah, it
Muppets?
was the Jack and the Beanstalk one.
Oh, cool.
And yeah.
Yeah, he set up
Vanessa,
shop here. Kubrick set up shop here.
yeah,
Hitchcock was doing films, obviously, basically from here to the States and back, and
yeah.
so there's always been this kind of romance between Britain and America in terms of Hollywood
And I
productions.
think the other thing I would say is that back in the day, Equity was called British Actors Equity Association.
Mm-hmm.
No mention of a trade union.
Right. So it was more
Okay, it was.
membership.
It became one in the 60s, 60s, but it was a slow shift.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people still wanted that softer, and I use that term generally, a softer, more gentle, more
Right.
old boys club. I'm going to
Yeah.
say that,
Yeah, I hear ya.
and it's shifted.
Yeah.
And what we have now is we've got a general secretary, although Christine was on that page, but we're now very much got a general secretary that worked for Community, which was a steel workers union,
Right.
who is
Wow.
now here and worked in the
Okay.
union for about 14 years before becoming general secretary.
Right.
Got to know the industry and the union, and has moved very much in that
That's
direction.
great. Yeah, we
As
need
well
more of
as
that.
FIA, the International Federation of Actors, there's a much stronger push. SAG-AFTRA are part of that. ACTRA in Canada, again,
Yeah.
they're on a big push with their commercials dispute,
Yeah. So we're seeing results all over the world with trade actors.
You are.
Yeah.
You
trade
are.
unions.
You're seeing it, even in Turkey, we had a meeting in
Right.
Istanbul last year. And
Yeah.
again, they're like, okay, what's going to happen? Because AI is now a big threat as well.
Yeah.
It's a threat for
There's
everybody.
common threats out there for all of us, isn't there?
Sure,
Yeah.
and in particular in non-English speaking countries who take a
Right.
lot of our English speaking work
Right.
and then dub it.
Yeah.
So there were actors in Istanbul who literally are facing the cliff edge of knowing that AI will get rid of their dubbing work
Right.
like
Of
that
course. Yeah.
overnight,
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
see. Yeah.
Eleanor, who was the president of ACTRA, you met her. She was there. She was in our conference along with Marie.
Yeah.
Said that about this is when I saw her in Istanbul. She said she walked into room. She's French Canadian, so she does lots of that sort of vocal work, audio work, and she walked in for a dubbing session, and what was normally just a mic and a guy in a booth, and there was an exchange. There was a row of cameras around the room, a whole row of them. And she said, what's this?
Right.
What's all this about? Okay, so we're going to film your face, your vocal movement, the way that you're speaking, the way you move your head, all of those things. And she said, you've not asked my permission.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then we're going to own it all. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically, they got
We're
the
gonna
wrong
clone
person,
you.
actually, because she was sussed. But basically, the idea was it would then take it, put it through the kind of sausage factory thing of AI, and part of a generative AI thing, so that down the line, what they would have is her facial movement they could work with AI.
Yeah. And own it.
And use it alongside that for the dubbing.
Yeah.
That's so seedy that they didn't ask for permission or tell her about it. That is so seedy.
And this is the big push. And this is coming from SAG-AFTRA, it's coming from us. It's about transparency. Be honest what's going on. Just let us know and have that in our contracts. Control, so that we can say yes or no.
Yeah.
Consent in that way as well for that reason. And then if we do say yes, we want to be paid.
Yeah.
And we want to be paid properly for it. That's the big thing. One of the arguments we're having at the moment, because I've done a few AI panels recently. I did one at Westminster, and I did one at a hotel, a big conference thing in London, is that they're trying to find out which is the best way of controlling this control, consent, transparency. Well, apart from our collective agreements, which, are contracts, it's about actually saying, well, okay, there has to be a sort of a more open dialogue, and it has to come through trade unions, etc. And they may not like it, they may not want it, but they have to understand it could end careers for all. Do you know what I mean? And so we've thought about intellectual property rights. and the law is so out of dated in the UK. I don't know about
Mm.
America, but in the UK, I mean, when that law was made in '88, mobile phones were the size of bricks.
Yeah.
Cell phones were the size of bricks.
Yeah.
You know, we had CDs and cassettes.
Yeah.
We're now a much
Yeah.
bigger digital age,
Yeah.
and actually, we need to upgrade it. They're being very slow on that. So the other way through is GDPR, which just comes through from the EU, which is basically whatever website you go on now, there'll be a list of things that'll come up going, do you consent to this? Do you consent to this? Use of these cookies, la, la, la. And you go yes, no, or whatever you do. Now, on that principle, GDPR could work as regards, can you use my voice?
Yeah.
Can you use my image? Even if I'm not in the room? If
Right.
it's a historical show from the 1980s,
Right.
GDPR, consent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that, then
Yeah, data protection.
yeah, then they can be
Control of
sued
your
or
image
whatever.
and your voice. Yeah.
I was going to say it seems to boil down to even just a matter of education to sort of, because like Jay was saying, it's seedy, but I don't know if it deliberately so, or if it's just out of ignorance. They don't understand how the system works and how actors work and what their lives are like and what sacrifices we have to make, etc. So they understand their end. This is tech, and this is we have this functionality, and we have these requirements, and this is what we want.
I think it's like, yeah, basically capitalism is what capitalism is. Whatever it does, it moves in a direction, it
Right.
makes its money, right? But in the same way, we admit, and I think SAG-AFTRA feel the same, you're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop
Right.
it. You've got to find a way to work through it.
Right.
And you've got to find that way to make sure that, yeah, you know what you're saying, they don't quite understand how actors make a living.
Right.
All those things about the residuals, the payments, the royalties, etc. That is
Yeah.
a little boost.
Yep.
Those days when you're not working, those weeks when you're not working, those checks make a difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But this is why I always tell people when they don't quite understand, I'll quote something like a day rate or an hourly rate, let's say for voice, and they go, "Oh, that's great money." And I go, "Well, it would be great money if I worked a 10-hour shift, but you know, I might get one of those a week." Oh. And I go, yes, the reason it's great money is because it means the actor is essentially on call and isn't out there having a different, like a job, so that they're available. So what you're paying for when you pay high rates is that an actor remains an actor, an available actor to do jobs. If you stop paying us what we're worth, then we will all just go out and get regular jobs like people, and you can make all the AI content you want, and good luck with that, because that's pretty much all you'll have. And let's see if audiences are interested. I don't think so.
There will be that thing that the people go, oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's fantastic. And there are some wonderful, I saw an art thing where online today where audiences walk through and it was like a ship on a stormy sea.
Right.
And you were part of the sea.
Right.
You know,
that kind of bells and whistles, splashy stuff.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, or the ABBA, I don't know, hologram thing. Like, oh, okay, cool, but that's done with consent, and ABBA makes money.
Exactly. There's your consent. There's your remuneration. And that, I would say, I'm back on the SAG-AFTRA. Our issue with what they've settled for and what Duncan has been saying, and I've been in meetings with him. He's the Gen Sec.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they're okay if the big names who can do and have the power to do the negotiation create all the safeguards you want.
Right.
But what about me, you? Do you know what I mean? The ones who haven't got that market power.
Right.
And let's be honest, that's why equity was created in the first place. It was made and created by people who had got a dominance in the industry and were doing okay.
Yeah.
And were going, but they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about protection
for all
and looking
of
out
us,
for the rest.
For the family. Family of
Yeah.
artists. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in order, if my feeling is that if you're protecting the members of the family, then you're protecting the organization in general, meaning that the entire system can collapse if we're not all safeguarded.
Sure.
Even if I'm at the highest point, if I'm an A-level actor, Hollywood celebrity making millions, the whole infrastructure can collapse based on, let's say, a foundation.
Yeah.
If the little guys aren't equally taken care of.
And that happened through COVID. A lot of people fell through the cracks.
Yeah, right.
There wasn't
We lost a
the
lot,
state
didn't we? Yeah,
aid
yeah.
for freelance work, self-employed.
Let me ask you this. Why isn't it compulsory to be a union member in this country as it is in the States?
For the very reason that I said before, because
The
trade
law.
unions are disapproved of.
Yeah.
It's draconian laws. As I say, the closed shop, the thing that if
Right.
you're going to work in this profession, you have to, belong to that. It's the law that changed because there's quite a neoliberal thinking from that period. You'll understand from Reagan and Thatcher of that
Yeah.
time, and we went further than other countries by going,
Yeah.
we're going to go the full hog. We're opening up everything. We're selling off the family silver,
Yeah.
the water,
Yeah, the water.
I mean,
that's the whole thing,
literally,
the trains.
I've always said they'd sell their own mother if they could make a fast buck,
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing of, oh, yes, we can do this.
Yeah.
And not thinking the
Privatizing
consequences
everything.
through.
Yeah. So we lost some of that during the privatization in the 80s.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
and that anti-trade, and the press, the British press, come on, the media.
Anti-trade. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, I know, obviously, the States, but you must sometimes look at ours and go, wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Some of those,
Some of
and
those.
because they're owned by a limited number of very powerful people,
Yeah.
most of them, who have got their own agendas.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And, they feed into everything in the UK.
Is there a reason maybe somehow in there that it's difficult seemingly now for us to get young people into the union? Is there a discussion around that?
Well, to be honest, did you hear Paul yesterday say,
Yeah.
in fact, that the median age of the people in the industry, in our union, I should say, is 41.
Right.
But there are more people under 30 something in our union than any other age group.
Oh, okay.
Overall.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
it's whether it's the average or whatever, it's
Yeah.
the medium and the modes, but basically, there are people join our union. It's whether they stay in, whether they see the purpose if they can't pursue their career.
How many actors are there in
ours?
country?
50,000. Well, we have 50,000 members.
Yeah.
The majority are actors, stage and screen actors. We have some designers, directors, circus artists,
performers of different.
Few models, stage managers.
But how many generally are in the country that aren't in equity? Do we have numbers on that?
Yeah, now there's a good question. Okay, you were at the Spotlight thing.
Yeah.
They have 90,000 on their books.
Right. Yeah, so about half of, they're doing much better than we are somehow in their recruitment.
Except that it's what Jackie, my vice president, calls the taxation of hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're not working.
Yeah,
the majority
of
of them won't be working.
Yeah.
And
but they think that that's necessary for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Get a job,
and the weird thing is that actually what's necessary is when you are working, you want to make sure that you've got support, that you've got insurance, when things go wrong or your agreements, that those things are covered. In the UK, if you're an actor or working any side of the performing arts or screen, if you get holiday pay, you're getting that because a contract has been created by a trade union.
Right.
That is not from the wonderful generosity of the employers.
No.
Legally, they don't have to because we're freelance self-employed and our worker status is different. So any holiday pay, pension, overtime is because of trade unions.
Yeah.
Not because of Spotlight.
I'll give you a quick anecdote as well about just in general, but I heard a story. There was a theater production going on. Everybody was requested and encouraged to join equity that was going to be in the show. One woman said, no, I'm not, and was speaking out against equity and being in the union and things like that. Made kind of a big stink about the fact that she's not going to join the union, ended up injuring herself on the job, on the stage, right? And it was the fault of the production, essentially. Then quietly went around and joined equity and quietly, and then kind of went around and tried to get a few people on board to say, hey, can you just say that I had been in equity when this happened and da-da-da. And my friend told me the story and said, no, I can't do that. You made a big stink about the fact that you weren't going to be in the union. And now you're stuck because if you had equity at the time, or, then you would have recourse and you'd have protection and you'd have a team of attorneys and, you could get compensated potentially. But so lesson learned, I think, there.
Exactly.
So help me out with, what?
It's exactly, we hear this time and time again.
Yeah, of course. Well, help me out with Jay, because guess what?
He's not a member.
Correct. That is correct. What do we do?
Oh, wow.
Now what do we do,
Called out
Lynda?
for the president.
There she is, the president of Equity
I was
Union.
waiting.
Look at the way she's shaking her head, like just
right. Okay.
in disbelief.
Okay. It's about the bigger picture. It's about what you want, the society you want to work in, the industry you want to work in, and how you support each other, and how you make sure that what you're doing now, you will have the best protections, and for in the future to make sure that as we move forward, if you need help, if you need guidance, if you don't get paid because a company goes down the pan and the money disappears, or your agent runs off with the money, happened to me. Somebody can come in and you can have that conversation. You get access to lawyers. You've got a voice there for you. Otherwise, you're very much Jack Jones on your own,
Right.
It's about the united front. You don't have to be on the barricades all day long doing your fight. But what you do have to do is know that it protects you and it protects everybody around, especially if you injured somebody else whilst you were working as well.
Yeah, that's right. I have an indemnity insurance.
Innocently. Yeah.
Yeah, that indemnity.
Or if you were injured so badly that you couldn't pursue your career. And that's happened.
Yeah.
And again, the support's been fantastic for those people. It's the bigger picture.
Do you think
I'm looking at you, Jay?
Yeah, she's looking right at you.
Yeah.
What's the reluctance?
I was in. So I was when I got out of drama school. I was part of Equity, actually.
Which drama school do you go to?
I went to Lambda.
Yeah.
And after I graduated, I did join, and I got the notes. I got like the letters in the mail, and I was very proud of it. But then I don't know.
You got the little calendar? Did you get the little purple?
I did. I got the
book?
really. What was really cool was that I got the planner.
All the swag. There she is. She's showing
that
the bottle. I've got the hat. I've got the hoodie.
I got the planner in the mail. That was really cool.
The planner. That was the big. Everybody loved
right?
The planner,
the journal, the planner journal. So I did get that. And then I just never re-upped. I don't know what the right word is.
You just let it lapse.
I didn't continue. I didn't.
Why is that, Jay? Was it a financial decision, or just didn't understand what the union would do for you?
I mean, I still work, right? Like, so I'm still like half of my finances are from acting and the other half is from like bartending, basically, right? So I have like two.
Your income.
My income is split in the middle. And so it just doesn't seem. I haven't done any commercials with extremely large buyouts. I haven't gotten into any like
Equity
big
doesn't handle commercials.
Television, like, consistent contracts, or like in plays that have given me like consistent money every week. So, and I don't know anyone else now except Todd that is part of the union. So there just was no, there was no reason for me to continue doing it.
I'll tell you, and I used the union not too long ago because, and it's just a simple, but I wish I could remember the name of the guy that helped me. Irish, but
Stephen Spence.
Yeah, I think it was him. Yeah, it was an issue with my credit. I had done some audio work, and they weren't crediting. They called me Tim
Crampter, and I was like, no. And then they came back with a different. Every time it was a different name. They just couldn't. It was Todd with one D, and I kept writing them, and I'm going, hey man, get the. It was on Audible, you know, it was up. I said, man, you got to get this credit right. Why do I have to keep chasing and waiting and just fix the credit? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. So finally I got Steve involved, and I said, write them and tell them from the union. And he sent a nice, very politely worded, but kind of sternly, fix it. And next day, you know, credit sorted.
Yeah.
Seems like a small thing, but it's like.
Well, I'm actually dealing with something similar right now, so that's interesting you bring that up.
Okay.
It is about those little things that you can just get hold of. And even if the contract isn't an equity contract, it's not been negotiated by equity, you still can get advice.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
The whole thing is that if you are a member, you've got all the support there. You've got the legal support. You've got it to cover live performance or screen stage, audio, games, the lot.
It seems like
Gaming's very big, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
And we're pushing on that one as well because they're extremely reluctant to get involved. But it's an industry that's growing and is making vast sums of money.
Yeah,
and they're not sharing it.
No,
I need to find. When I first started to, I actually had a friend from school that we kept trying to plan to go to equity meetings with, but it never happened. So I need to. I mean, maybe I just need to find someone to go with because like everything you say makes sense. But
are you based in London?
I am based in London.
Okay, north or south?
West. So north.
North of the Thames or south of the Thames?
Of the
North.
Thames.
No,
okay,
north.
so your branch is London North.
Gunnersbury.
Oh, okay.
The Thames is the dividing line, and there's 2 branches. So yeah. And you don't have to, you don't have to live your life there if you're a busy person. You've got other things, but it's poke your nose in, and the thing is, then you'll find out more, and you get a hat. You get better merchandise these days.
You get a pen. Oh, the merch alone is worth it. The newsletter, amazing. Well, but ultimately, it's the kind of thing that you don't know you need until you need it.
Until you need it. Yeah.
And then it comes in very handy. So, and it's also just a matter of if you're in solidarity with fellow actors and with the plight that we go through and seeing how we can be taken advantage of because we're creative people. We're not business people per se. You know, not that minded. We want to perform. We want to be artists. And there's always going to be people out there that want to profit from that in a way that's unfair.
Mm.
And I don't even think that actors, I don't even think we need to make or want to make the kind of money that big producers make and things. But we want to be compensated fairly when we finally do pick our head up and say, wait, you're making billions and I can barely afford to keep a roof over my head? I don't have health insurance? I mean,
exactly. Are you a member of Spotlight? Do you pay for Spotlight?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, as well, of course.
Do you, Jay?
Yeah.
Okay, so when they brought the premiere in, what did you think about that? The premiere, whatever you want to call it, yeah.
We talked about it, Jay. You remember?
But a few months ago, well, maybe last year, it'll be last year, they said they're going to launch another tier. And if you paid extra, you got X, Y, and Z, right?
Yes. Yep.
And there was an outcry from members
and it was like, no, absolutely not.
But
and
because we basically went, we could feel it. We could feel it widely and deeply felt. People went, no. So we got back and you said, don't do it. Don't do it. It's not going to go down well. You're already charging a lot. You're no longer the family business that you were. It's now owned by an American multinational company who clearly have got their eye on Europe, just not the UK, but the entire spread of Europe. And don't do it. So they didn't. So we're now in a thing that's going on where we are, I can't give you all the details, some of it's confidential at this stage, but basically we're challenging the fact that back in the day, Spotlight used to be books before it went digital. And, the idea is that if you...
A directory.
Basically, if you add more pages, it costs more. But there's a certain amount where when it's on a website, that incremental difference isn't the same. And yet they've increased the cost of that year in, year out. Now, what do you get for your money? if you say insurance, the insurance that they've got isn't as good as what you get with equity. And in fact, the provider is the ones we're getting rid of because they're not good enough. And that's what that is.
Yeah.
Added to which, there is a law that says basically that what they are providing, you should just be covering the cost of that provision of a directory, if you like, but not making the profit on it.
Right. And they're profiting
So,
off the members'
yeah,
membership fees.
yeah, and all these little extras, workshops, this, that, yeah, you get on and do that. And if people want to pay for it, good on them. But don't use that as a basic reason for why there's a directory. And if you want a monopoly, then which it is basically a monopoly, then make sure that you are not abusing that position.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing I think that we're all going to rally around is this.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. It's the widely and deeply felt one.
Yeah. It's
that one, and the whole thing around COVID when there was no support for freelance self-employed. Yeah.
Right.
You know, and also paid better on commercials.
That's a big one.
And games. And stop, games. And things with AI where let's have transparency on those.
Yeah.
So if you're a member of Equity, are you just able to just email someone? Like, are there do you just be like, oh, hi, lawyer, I am, this is happening right now, or this is a contract I got for this commercial. Does it look good? And someone would respond being like,
email or phone, but basically it's all done in departments, membership, all that side of things, or, subscription, that, live performance, right across the range, theatre, comedy, you name it, and then screen, and then TV. And whichever area, or audio, or circus.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a big network of people that you could theoretically, I could like send an email or call and be like, I don't know the answer to this, or even like, I don't know if this is a problem. Is this a problem? And someone would get back to me and tell me that.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
So if you get offered a contract and it's not an equity contract for a theatre job, say, and you don't know what to do about it and the pay is rubbish, etc., there is a person, I can see him now, Karim, and he deals with that side of things, and you would email him, and he's fantastic. And how do I know he's fantastic? Because as president, I get these really grumpy emails from producers going, this staff member of yours, la, 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 and I'm going, yeah, I know he's doing his job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, you can, and they do get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not just some invisible power that does things.
No.
I mean, that's kind of like always the fear of being in an organization. It's like, what is it? Yeah, cool. Like you're part of something, but like if I need help, like what are they going to do? Right. You send an email and then you get a response 2 weeks later being like, oh, it's blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. That was potentially back in the day. That was it. It's no longer the case.
It's also a very sort of democratic system where you can be as active as you want yourself.
Yeah, you can choose your level of whatever you want to do. If you're busy, of course you can't. But there's that whole thing, and of course all the staff were there at the conference this last weekend. Yeah, they were around, they were involved, they were doing whatever they were doing.
Everybody's accessible as well. I mean, look at me. I grabbed Lynda, the president, El Presidente.
Thank you very much.
In fact, I was so like completely out of my element that I was like talking to her and I go, wait, what's your name again? Everybody else is like, it's Lynda. Everybody knows Lynda, the president. I was like, oh, yeah, all right, nice to meet you. Yeah, you want to be on my podcast? So, I mean, that's how accessible it is, Jay.
Did he really do that to you? That sounds like God.
Yeah, I was sat there. Yeah. That fact was stood there. It was on the first.
Yeah, we were having a drink and an hors d'oeuvre or something.
We had an international night where we got all these guests from Colombia and wherever, because we link in with trade unions in the performing arts and various things from across the world.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Slovenia in just over a week to meet with all the European ones.
Okay. Oh,
wow. So I'll be there with the French, the Spanish, the Germans, the Turkish.
Right.
And we'll be talking about AI, intimacy coordination, harassment, pay,
This is exciting.
games.
Yeah. Ljubljana, is it?
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah. I
And
love
they
to see
learn
that.
from us and we learn from them.
Yeah.
We're much more forward on things like equalities and diversity. Diversity. I was just thinking that because Americans use DIE or something, they call it DIE or DIE, diversity, equality, and inclusion.
Inclusion and equality. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Are you still working as an actor?
Yeah. I did a short film for a director from Coronation Street only a couple of weeks back. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, if anything comes in, I do. Yeah.
That's
And
wonderful.
I'm about to do a play. Well, I've been working in women's prison as well on a creative writing course
All right.
about transportation to Australia in the 1820s. I'm in Bristol. I live in Bristol,
Right.
but it was actually from London. They gathered them from jails all over the UK and dumped them. You nicked a bit of cloth, you were transported to Australia.
Yeah.
The system was atrocious. But basically, it was the British building a colony. So
Yeah,
who we use? I know. Get that lot. Clear the prisons.
Clear the
Get
prisons
rid.
out.
Yeah. In fact, one of my ancestors was transported. Must be in the family.
Yeah.
Huh?
I think we all had an ancestor that was.
I know. There's always one, isn't there?
There's always one.
Yeah. The colony of criminals. But that's interesting. So you're keeping busy. That's great.
I am. It's as I say, I don't do musicals, so that side is not a side. I just say I don't do. I've done PF and things, but it's not my main area. It's more kind of telly and theatre work. Yeah.
That's quite a career you've had.
Yeah. I also went back to university and did 2 degrees.
Oh, did you?
I've got a first class honours in economics and a master's in sociology. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Recently
right.
did that.
Yeah. So they can't pull the wool over my eyes.
I was going to say that's not normal.
The economy, all that.
Not gonna try.
That's all. Every actor should get a business degree.
One of the reasons I did it was because I just got fed up during Thatcher's time with this whole everything has to be sold off. Everything's all about profit, individual self interest, nothing to do with society or what I believed in. Yeah. And I thought, but I need the arguments. I need to have that intellectual and academic knowledge. So I did the degree.
Yeah, piece of paper to back it up a little bit too.
Yeah, and it's useful. It's useful being president.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think things are changing. Do you feel that?
Yeah,
There's definitely progress being made.
I do, because I think I'll say this. I think there's a generation of us, but and more behind me coming. But there's a real shift about all of that, about equality, diversity, inclusion. No more. I think Me Too triggered one side of it. Black Lives Matter triggered another side of it. There's a whole. We're not doing that anymore. And around deaf and disabled as well. Of course, you've seen the blood scandal we've had here at the moment on the news, all around those issues.
Absolutely.
And I think there's a real voice out there. And also around things like we've got the drag artists who the far right have been targeting, and we're having to do support for them. Joe, he spoke at conference, and he's a drag artist, and he's had a terrible time, and we've been supporting him. He's had threats to his life.
Yeah. I spoke to him a bit. Yeah.
What sort of?
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, one more reason for everybody to come together, join the union, be part of something here, and make some change.
And let us, united, as we say, look after each other.
Right. Exactly.
That's the main thing, isn't it? Making sure that everybody's okay.
That's right.
As best you can do it.
Yeah. Especially in this, actors are vulnerable people, and they allow themselves to be made vulnerable.
Yeah.
But there needs to be we need to be watchful of each other in that regard.
Which is why, just say, Jay, we have, in recent times, we've got this thing, to all artists, good work, to all workers, good art, to all people, equity.
Bravo. Thank you so much, Lynda.
You are welcome.
It was wonderful to have you on our show. Let's give you a little clap.
Thank you very much.
Great conversation. Maybe we'll have you back someday.
Okay. Well,
If
I'm
you don't
around for
mind.
another 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And then I'll run against you probably.
There you go.
I don't know if I want the job, to be honest. It looks like a hard job. Okay. Thanks again, Lynda. We'll talk soon.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. Wow.
All right.
Wonderful. I guess. Well, when are you going to sign up?
Well, once I can get someone to go to a meeting with me, so
What do you
I'm
got to
not
go to a
so
meeting
scared.
for? You just talked to the president directly. What do you need a meeting for?
My
If she can't
gosh.
talk you into it, then who can?
Can't someone talk to me and let me just like process it for a bit? Can I just
Process,
like
all right.
sit still for a bit?
But you do see some of the benefit, I guess.
Of course I do.
You
I
couldn't.
really do.
Yeah.
This was a really
It's just odd that in this country, whereas I know for SAG, when you're working in the States, like you cannot work. It's the union card is the thing to have, right? That's
yeah.
what everybody talks about. If you're not,
Well, they did. I don't know if it's still the same way. Maybe it is.
of course it
But
is, because you can't work without it, and you have to get a dispensation.
well, you can't work union jobs without it. 'Cause there's
What other jobs are there? There's no other job worth it.
there are jobs that get you money. When I worked in New York
Okay.
City, all my work,
A
all
few,
my money
but
I got.
yeah, all right. But eventually, anyway, you take all those jobs and add them up,
No,
and then
the
try to get a
dream would
union
be-
card. Yeah.
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 The hope would be to move up.
Here's all my union cards, by the way. There it is. I keep them all. Just
Alright.
so you see.
That was a legendary closing line she left off on.
Absolutely, that was perfect.
That was legendary.
Yeah.
It's a really good. It's good.
That's
It's a
the
good,
mantra, the
mantra.
mantra. Yeah, it's good stuff. And I'm just brand new into the whole thing as well. Anyway, I'm just trying to figure it all out. So, doing my
I could
little
tell
bit here in Bedfordshire.
Both of you two are hot off this conference.
Yeah,
You-
it was. Yeah.
It must have been a really. I could tell by the way you guys were talking. I was like, wow, they've had a. They were at a multiple day long conference, and it wasn't just a inactive sit around.
No.
There were things happening.
Yeah, it was start to finish, and I hadn't really talked to anybody about it. I didn't talk to you yet about it and stuff, so I was kind of popping.
Yeah, you guys were hot. Whew.
Yeah, I just got back yesterday afternoon. I didn't know if she was gonna show. I was just thought, oh man, she's gonna be like, she
Well, I'm
put
gonna
her.
have to join now. I'm gonna.
She had her
have to,
knees
you're-
up last night afterwards, I'm sure, and then today I thought she'll be busy answering emails, so I was like chasing you up. I kept emailing her. Yeah, I'm sure she had a few pints last night or whatever. Spritz Aperol. Yeah, there she is. Well, Jay,
Mr. Todd,
thanks again.
thank you.
Boy, Andy, we're thanking you.
We're thanking you.
And we're thanking audiences.
Oh, thank you so much.
Checking back in. Offstage acting.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
were
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Lynda Rooke.
Lynda Rooke.
El Presidente. She's dancing. I see her in the corner of my eye.
Oh, she's dancing.
Thanks again for episode 20. Checking in, Offstage Acting Podcast. And we'll see you for episode 21.
Bye.
Bye-bye.